letting us be here today. I really appreciate it. Before I get into any of the presentation, a few things. I just want to compliment Jeanette. If you haven't had the opportunity to work with her on any project, or as she said, you have any questions at all, we get more compliments on the work that she's been doing. She just recently took over as Director of Development Services for the county. And as I'm sure you know, as realtors and business folks that have been involved in the community, we have had a very bad reputation as a community, or at least from a local government, of being business friendly and working with folks and this and that. Those days are over, guys, and Jeanette is one of the reasons why that is. The attitude or the mantra now from local government is, how can we help you? Thanks for being here. And she understands that, and it's filtering down through the different departments. And so if you have a client, any commercial type activity that's looking to do anything at all, that's your point person, and we work with them, and it's not, this is why you can't do this is why you can't do that, it's this is how we can try to help or facilitate it in happening. And so I just want to compliment you on your work, and please don't be bashful or hesitant to call up with any questions on anything, or if you feel that we can help you seal a deal, or help you with the transaction that you have going on, or maybe give you an extra benefit to be able to sell something to your client, let us know, and we'll tell you what we can do from a local government standpoint and how we can become involved with that. So please use that. A couple of things, this is just random, has nothing to do with what I'm talking about today, but Mr. Bunch always does a great job. He's not here, we want to thank him. Actually, that was my first job. I was a busboy for Mr. Bunch at the plantation when he was a chef there. So he's a great guy and has a great family. David, thanks for those comments. I'll probably bomb today, but I appreciate you saying that. And then just I want to thank everyone here, the Realtors Association. You guys are the front lines. I mean, I've talked quite a bit about this, but this is an obvious statement. I mean, you're selling the county, so most of people's first impressions or dealings in a community is through a realtor. And so whether that be they're looking for something, they contact someone. Mostly it's realtors that they have that first impression, and so it's much appreciated from local government, and that the work that you all do, and that you sell our community. And hopefully after talking today, we can give you some things, and by nature, realtors are an optimistic bunch. They're selling, they want to sell property, and so hopefully we can talk about some things that will give you some optimism. And Citrus County, its best days are ahead, and I'm not going to try to paint rose-colored pictures or glasses, or look at things through a rose-colored glass, but I'm telling you, we're a great community. We've got a great group of folks. We've got a great product to sell, and the future is bright. And so what I'd like to do today is talk about a couple of different things, two primary things I want to try to hit on, and that's our county budget. That involves taxes, government spending, all that kind of fun, non-controversial stuff. And then economic development. What are we doing to try to grow jobs and improve the economy? Number one, on the budget issue. Obviously, if you've been reading local news, you've seen that over the last probably year and a half, it has been probably the craziest times, or most difficult financial times from a local government standpoint, really in the history of our community. A year ago, or about a year and a half ago, and I was the chairman this last year, we had what I call a perfect storm happen. And what I mean by that were multiple issues that by themselves would literally be stories of the decade, if you will, happen right after each other. And what those were was, number one, our largest taxpayer challenged their assessment. They challenged the property appraiser, the way in which that office values their facility or their property. The reason that's such a big deal to everybody in the county is Duke Energy, paid 27% of all the taxes in our community. And so we were 3 months into our fiscal budget year. We had set our millage. We had built our budgets. There's no way for us to go back and change that. And they made what is called a good faith payment, which is a legal term, which is what they believe their tax liability should be. And it was $16 million less than what we had budgeted for. And so that sent the county into financial turmoil. That was number one. Number two, the decision not to rebuild the nuclear power plant at that facility has multiple ramifications. Number one, first and foremost, the loss of 600 plus high-wage jobs to our community. And these are nuclear engineers and very professional folks that make a very good living. And so you obviously have the loss of those folks, their families, their discretionary income, the things that they buy and support our local stores, and on and on and on. So that's a huge ripple effect that had in our community, but also the additional loss of tax revenue into the county. And so you had that happen as well. And then third, which you all know better than I do and better than anyone as being realtors, we have basically been ground zero for property loss valuation really around the country when you look at it. You've got Las Vegas, Nevada area, and then you've got pockets of Florida, Marion here, Pasco, South Florida, that when you look at valuation losses, they've been staggering. And so you put all those three together in that time frame, and we have a fiscal crisis from a local government standpoint that we have to address. I don't mean to be over dramatic about it, but you hear things like about Detroit and other cities or counties that are facing bankruptcy. If we didn't take action, we'd be right there. And so we had to have a very frank discussion last year, which was very controversial. And we had to look at spending, we had to look at tax revenue, we had to look at how we're taxing our tax structure. We had to make some changes, or we'd be in financial hardship, and that would be an understatement. First and foremost, in spite of what you may hear out there, we've cut our costs. Over the last 4.5 years, county government's reduced its budget by $47 million. We've reduced the size of local government by over 110 positions. That's not government math or imaginary positions. Those are real folks that we've shrunk the size. We have cut substantially our discretionary spending. We've consolidated. We've done a lot of different things. So we have cut our costs substantially. However, it wasn't enough to absorb the three things that I talked about. So we had to look at our millage. We had to raise our millage. We had to institute a fire fee. We had to do some other things to stabilize our budget. And so here's the bottom line from doing that. We still have a competitive tax rate in our community. Our overall tax liability is more than competitive to other counties, but we have stabilized our budget. We are now financially sound and solvent. A lot of people, we don't talk about this a lot. We maintained our A+ bond rating through this whole thing. And that's a big deal. We have an excellent bond rating by Fitch and Moody. We had to fight for that. We actually were on the phone with them constantly saying this is what we're doing to ensure that. That bond rating was maintained. We've been able to replenish our reserves. Another thing you hear about is we've spent all our rainy day funds and we're broke. Not true. Through this budget cycle, we have replenished our reserves. We have our reserve capacity met. And again, our budget is balanced and it's financially sound. We've been able to maintain a level of service through that. One of the things that's important is to have a safe community. Our police, fire, and EMS are funded. Our park system is doing well. Our library, we have an A+ library system. We've got good community centers. So our services that we offer are maintained. A website that I would encourage you to go to is one called FloridaTaxWatch.org. What Florida Tax Watch is it's a non-governmental, nonpartisan government watchdog group, and they rank county governments and cities. They rank them on spending, they rank them on millage rates, on taxes, and all this type of stuff. It's a selling point for us. In spite of the stuff that you hear out there, we are an affordable community to live in, and we continue to be so. Even compare us to all of our neighbors, compare us to the 67 counties in the state. Our per capita spending for local government, in other words, how much we spend per person on running local government, providing those services, we're ranked 60 out of 67 counties. Our overall tax burden on our community, we were ranked, I think, 57th out of 67 with the millage rate. We've gone down a little bit, but we're still, I believe, in the high 40s or close to 50 out of 67 communities. Those are selling points. We're an affordable community to live in, and at the same time, we have our services that have been maintained, and so I would encourage you to go on that website, look at those statistics. When people are looking at our community, compare us to other places, and you'll see that we are favorable, and I would contend to you, we also have a level of service that is a benefit to our community. Again, our parks and our libraries and the things that we provide as local government, they're solid. And so the end of the story here is, from a budgetary standpoint, we are sound and secure, our budget is balanced, and we're moving forward, and we've got some real opportunities that I'll talk about in just a second to be able to address some of the millage rate increases that we've had, and then also continue to look at reducing costs. So that's kind of a budget overview. Second, economic development. I want to hit on that just briefly. We've been completely reactionary as a community for decades. What I mean by that is we basically, things just happen from a local government standpoint. So you've seen single industry economies take place. We've been so heavily reliant on home building and single-family residential growth. That was our primary driver, backed up by the utility industry. And so both of those have been in not exactly the best shape lately. And you see what's going on with the utility industry. And so we've got to look at diversifying our marketplace. And we're going through this process, and we started this process a while ago, where we're looking at our demographics, we're looking at our workforce, we're looking at our education, and we're looking at areas in which we can grow and expand industry and our economy in our community. And we've got some real opportunities. You know, we're the third oldest median age in the state. We used to be the fifth in the nation, so we have an older population. That has some obstacles with regard to economic development, has some opportunities too. One of those opportunities is the healthcare and medical related businesses. We have a great story to tell as to why healthcare facilities and medical practices should be here. And so we're creating these targeted industries based on those statistics and facts. And so medical and healthcare is by far number one. We're looking at light manufacturing. We're looking at technology-based. We're looking at marine-based activities, certain retail-type establishments. And so we have a concerted effort now that we're proactive. We go out and we go after these types of folks, and we're having some success in working with them. It doesn't happen overnight. You're not going to transition a single industry economy overnight, but hopefully through a cumulative effect, you're going to start seeing some diversification happen. And then also just a rebound in our economy in general, obviously will be very helpful. But we are really getting serious about reaching out to business and industry that we've never done before here in the community. From a local government regulatory standpoint, we've rewritten every one of our rules and our regulations, this thing called our Land Development Code, as you've heard, impact fees. We have gone through all of our rules and our regulations, and the stories that you've heard in the past or the dealings that you may have had with the county, it's a new day, and this is what we're going out. Unfortunately, what had happened was, with the economic downturn, you hear all these type of stories and issues that people had gone through, that no one's doing anything, and we're left with a stagnant economy. And so I'm hopeful that we're moving forward and moving past that. Again, you all know better than anyone, but I can give you story after story of anecdotal type of discussion that I hear that things are getting better. The boat store, Gulf to Lake Marine, they're selling boats. They're setting records right now. Go talk to them. Things are moving. You talk to some folks, we're getting activity. And so we're starting to see that type of anecdotal type of discussion happen. We're also starting to see some real positive, real factual things. Number one, at the last Tuesday's meeting, we just rezoned, or we started the process of rezoning the 200 acres for Duke Energy's natural gas plant that they're going to be building. A 1.5 billion with a B project is going to happen in Citrus County. It's going to employ 700 construction jobs right off the bat and have a huge financial impact on the community. That is happening, and that is moving forward. HCA, the company that's going to be leasing our hospital, that's been just a disaster, obviously, the last few years with the hospital. Those folks are going to be closing that deal. And so what that means is contractually they're obligated to put a substantial amount of money into those facilities and into that practice. There's going to be $50 million of capital investment flowing into that facility in Inverness and throughout the county. They're also going to bring ancillary services that's not here right now. That's going to have a huge impact. Just the moral issue alone of having that solved will be big, but the financial impact that they're going to bring a huge healthcare professional company like that put the money in, again, that they have to contractually do, will have an impact on this community. YMCA, these are just examples of things happening. YMCA is very close to actually raising $8 million to break ground on a facility, which is not too far from here. They've got close to $6 million that they've raised right now. You're gonna start seeing a real public campaign to raise the remaining, and they want to do that this year. They want to finish raising those funds this year and break ground on that. These are signs of not a community in decline, but things happening. Citrus Hills, as you've seen, if you drive down 486, they're clearing land. They're getting ready to submit to the county fairly soon, hopefully. A very large development with hundreds of new sites that are going to be in that. That's obviously a bullish sign. Gulf to Lake sales, you've seen the Walmart happen and the McDonald's. Everyone wishes it was something else besides that. But I will tell you that they're in discussions with national retail firms to sell the remaining out parcels. They don't have a contract yet, but if that happens, you're going to see activity happen there. That is where, by the way, I think, and this is my opinion, you're going to see the most commercial activity in the county happen in that Central Ridge area. And obviously, as you all know, we have a residential component there. We're severely lacking a commercial component right there. You've got Citrus Hills, Black Diamond, Pine Ridge, Beverly Hills, Citrus Springs, the most number of plotted lots ready for development anywhere in the county, with the potential of more growth of really anywhere. That is right there. And by the way, it's the most populated portion of the county, the Central Ridge. And so you're going to see the commercial investment when that starts to happen in those areas. 486, by the way, is now finished, obviously. You can go from Crystal River to Inverness with the 4-lane road. That will encourage development along that road. 491 is going to be starting fairly soon to 4-lane that road. So you will have a true, from an infrastructure logistics standpoint,